of the internet. This video is really kind of a get to know me video, and I will also be reading a short story that I wrote. I'm sorry, future self, you're gonna hate this. I just thought it would be fun to kind of open up and show you guys what I've been working on recently and kind of give you guys a better sense of who I am, because I know when YouTubers first start up, it's kind of confusing whether or not you're going to be interested in the content they make, and so I thought it would be nice to shoot a video explaining kind of my intention for this YouTube channel and what I'm hoping to get out of it, what I'm hoping for my viewers to get out of it. So yeah, if you're not interested in me at all and you're just interested in judging me for how bad my writing is, I will make sure to leave a timestamp somewhere on the screen so you can jump forward in the video and just hear me reading my own writing, which is terrifying. But if you are interested in me and getting to know me a little bit, then so basically I put together some questions that I found on the new YouTuber tag that's kind of just for general YouTubers, and mix them up with questions I found on the Booktube Newbie Tag. And I just kind of picked out my favorite ones that I thought would be most interesting and wrote them down in a list, and I plan to answer them for you. I chose to do this because I feel like I don't quite fit into the perfect booktube category. I'm not super interested in a lot of the books that most booktubers are interested in, which seems to be a lot of YA, a lot of fantasy, sci-fi, romance, that kind of stuff. And I really read mostly contemporary fiction, realistic fiction, short stories, and classics. Just because that's just what I found to be most compelling for me. I totally respect people who are interested in other genres. It's just not something that I'm probably going to be talking about, and therefore I feel like I don't perfectly fit into like a booktube category. I don't know what I'm saying. But I also feel like I don't really fit into a typical YouTuber category either, because my goal for this channel is to help people with informational videos, book recommendations. It's also to have open conversations with people. I was really inspired to do this by one of my favorite podcasts. Just the way that they continually have interesting people on and challenge their listeners to open up their minds, open up their hearts, and be willing to listen to other people's opinions, I think is really important given the polarized political climate these days and just the culture that's very polarized right now. I feel like in the US at least, but I'm sure all around the globe, there's a lot of fragmentation between people and different parties. And I feel like one of the most important things right now is for people to just have conversations about difficult topics and be open-minded and be willing to give a chance to an opinion that you might not be predisposed to agreeing with, I think is the best way to put it. And so, I mean, there's a lot of topics that I'm really interested in right now. I'm very interested in social media, some of the downfalls of social media. I'm really interested in literature and books, as I'm an English major. I'm interested in writing and what the future of writing is going to look like. I'm interested in beauty standards and the beauty industry and some of the downfalls of that, feminist issues. I just kind of have a really mixed bag of interests, and I'm hoping to find a community that is interested in discussing those things with me, just sort of creating a safe place where you'll be able to hear some different opinions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the questions that I put together that I thought would be most interesting and most helpful for you in order to get to know me, and hopefully that way you'll be able to see whether you're interested in joining this community. So let's get into it. My name is Noémi. I'm sure I'm going to disclose my last name at some point, but right now I just figured I would stick with my first name. It is Hungarian. I'm half Hungarian. Ha te is magyar vagy, akkor mondjál valamit nekem, mert nem annyira jól beszélek magyarul, de egy kicsit. Szóval, szia. I grew up in Portland, Oregon. My family moved around a lot, but I generally tend to say that I'm from Oregon because that's where I went to middle school, high school. I did live in Hungary and visit Europe quite a bit growing up, which I think really opened my eyes from a young age to what other cultures look like, and helped me think really critically about our own culture, because it really is fascinating when you're 8 and you're going to live in Eastern Europe and school is different, pop culture is different, the language is different, and then you come back to the United States and you go to middle school and you realize that people wear makeup and there's certain shoes that are appropriate to wear and are not appropriate. For example, I had these fake pink Vans that I got bullied for. You realize that class is a thing and having wealth is a thing. And so yeah, what I'm trying to say by that is just I've had a lot of experience dealing with different cultures. That's it. I don't know where I was going with that. How old am I? I'm in my early 20s. I have a problem where I'm really afraid of aging, and I know that sounds ridiculous because I'm super young at this point, but I'm just totally afraid. I think it's being a female identifying person and finding myself trapped to conforming to beauty standards and stuff like that. I'm really afraid as a woman of becoming older, and so I'm afraid to say how old I am. I'm probably gonna cut this out. Hobbies and interests. So here's where you'll really get to know me. I'm a senior at UCLA. I'm going to be graduating this June with a degree in English and a concentration in creative writing. I'm an aspiring writer. I am working on a longer senior thesis that I hope will be a publishable work someday. It's a historical fiction novel. So that's really what I'm working on, but I'm also really interested in writing short stories and, you know, mostly fictional stuff. Yeah, so writing is a big passion of mine. It has been since I was really young. I remember when I was like in 6th grade, my teacher told us to write like a 5-page story about whatever we wanted. And I remember writing a 35-page story and turning it in. And I remember all the kids around me. At that point, I thought they were like envious of me. I thought they thought I was super cool. And when the teacher saw it, he was like, wow, you wrote a lot. And I was like, yeah, I did. But they really just thought I was a freak. Realizing that now. But anyways, writing has been a passion of mine for a long time. So is reading. When I was younger, I read a ton. I was really into classics. I read Jane Austen and Huckleberry Finn from a young age. But then in high school, I sort of dropped off the reading wagon and I became a terrible person. No, I was just really interested in fitting in and being popular, dyeing my hair blonde, and lash extensions, my prom dress, etc., etc. Then I went to college and I realized that reading is one of the best ways to open your mind, become a more intelligent person. I'm about to sneeze. That was an aggressive one. Yeah, just reading is one of the best ways that you can improve yourself. I think if whatever genre you're reading, even if it's fiction, even if it's romance, you're learning something about the world. Whether it's just from that author's perspective, whether you relate somehow to one of the characters, I feel like it's just one of the best ways to enhance your mind and grow as a person. I think a lot of people love reading because it provides an escape, and I think that's a great reason to love reading. People want an escape when they watch TV shows on Netflix and when they play video games, like when we use social media. Like, there's a lot of reasons why people need escape, especially at this time in this crazy world pandemic. But I found that the reason I really love reading is because I learn something every time I read. Not just about writing and technical skills and stylistic choices from writers who've been published, but I feel like I learn something about the world. I read to find out how other people view certain things, how certain characters deal with conflict, and that's part of the reason why I read a lot more contemporary, experimental types of fiction, is because it's less about the plot and more about how can this author expand the way that I see the world. So there's that. Why did you start this channel? This is a good one. I've been wanting to start a YouTube channel for a really long time, and when I was in high school, I wanted to just be a YouTuber who talked about makeup and clothes. and I was too afraid to do it because I was too afraid of what people thought of me. But since I'm kind of past that stage, I'm also past just talking about surface level things. And not that there's anything wrong with talking about makeup or clothes or fashion, etc. on the internet. Like, I think that's a great thing and it helps a lot of people, honestly. I have no issues with beauty videos, fashion videos, vlogs, lifestyle videos. I think those can all be really helpful and really entertaining. I think they're actually kind of like the future of entertainment, as the amount of curated media, I suppose, or like written television shows and programs is starting to decline, and reality entertainment of YouTube is starting to skyrocket, and like social media, TikTok, Instagram, those things are up and coming for sure. But I guess what I've been trying to say is I hope to make this channel entertaining, but also more than that, a place to learn and grow together. I know that sounds super cheesy. Yeah, I mean, I am pursuing a lot of different things. I once wanted to be a photographer, and I've been dealing with cameras since I was 16. I got my first DSLR Canon and I began taking photos, and that was my like channel for my creativity. And I took AP photo in high school, including like darkroom classes as well as digital classes. And I found photography to be a really great way of doing that. And even though this is a little bit different because I am filming myself, which, let's face it, is sort of narcissistic, I feel like it's still a great way to channel creativity, even if it's not really through the camera work anymore. It's more through having conversations, talking about difficult topics, interesting topics, things that might challenge people's worldviews, etc. So yeah. But anyways, I'm interested in photography, I'm interested in writing, as I said, and reading. I'm also really interested in acting, which is something I've done for quite a while. I've done performing in a lot of different ways. I was a dancer for a while, not a very good one. But, you know, theater and musical theater is something that I did when I was younger, and now that I'm living in LA, it's something that I'm trying to get into, and I know it sounds kind of ridiculous because a lot of people are, but it's one of my passions, and so if that's something you're interested in, that is something that I'll be touching on in this channel. I actually just recently had a callback over Zoom, and it was so funny because the person who's reading with me, he was like, okay, I'm just gonna throw this at you. We're not gonna do any dialogue, we're just gonna do cold improv. And I was like, okay. And also, he says, you're gonna be not the character you thought you were gonna be, but actually the opposite, the love interest, the one who was written as a guy but now is open gender. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I didn't know where I was going in the scene. I was a completely new character, and we were also just doing open, cold improv. So it was quite a time. He basically was just like, okay, imagine Sophia's walking in right now. You have a crush on her. How do you feel? And I was like, trying to seduce her with my eyes. Anyway, Zoom auditions and callbacks are a weird matter. That was such a tangent, I'm sorry. Goals for the future. I'm really interested in publishing my writing, interested in acting, and potentially writing screenplays and short scripts to act in and to produce if possible. As I mentioned, I've been like auditioning for a lot of student short films, which I'm hoping will give me a feeling for, you know, how the industry works, how a short film is made, and hopefully make those for you guys. I'm interested in philanthropy and working to make the world a better place. I'm also like, my dream job would be to be a podcaster, because I think podcasts are such a great way of allowing people to hear opinions that are differing from their own and sort of compare and contrast them and hear interesting facts and interesting anecdotes, and not only learn about other people but also learn about themselves and how they relate to the world around them. So I think podcasting would also be really fun at some point in the future, but who knows what the future holds. At this point, I'm graduating in June. I'm terrified because I don't know what I'm doing, and although I plan to pursue all of these creative endeavors, I'm definitely gonna have to get a job as like a barista or a server or something to fund these endeavors, unfortunately. I don't have a trust fund, what can I say? To the questions. Why should someone subscribe? I've kind of already outlined this, but if you're somebody who's feeling lost, if you're somebody who feels like they want to hear interesting conversations, they want to be exposed to ideas that they may not necessarily agree with, but that might challenge their worldview, if you feel like you want to have an internet friend, me, that's gonna be very open and honest with you, then you should subscribe, because I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things, often related to my life, but often also universally relatable. And so as somebody who wants to grow themselves and wants to expand their mind, I hope that you can join me in this sort of mutual relationship. So yeah, moving forward, who is your target audience? I think people that live in LA might be interested in my videos because I'm sure a lot of my content will be sort of LA adjacent, although I think anybody who is interested in books and writing would also be interested in this. But even beyond that, anybody at all who wants to mix in to their YouTube diet something that you can sink your teeth into a little bit more. Videos that will make you think. That's really my goal, is that I'm gonna try to limit the amount of superficial content, and I'm gonna try to limit the amount of content that's solely based on me. Like, what do I do in my life? What are my opinions? Yes, I will probably be sharing those, but also, how does this affect the world around me? What do you think is the best thing about YouTube? Is one of the questions. I think one of the best things about YouTube is that it allows people to connect with people who they never would have been able to connect with. It also allows people to learn a lot of different skills. I mean, there's YouTube videos about everything that you can imagine, and I know that I've learned a ton. I feel like I've learned interpersonal skills too. You learn how people in different areas talk. You learn what jargon they use in certain fields. I think it can be such a great tool. But that leads me to what I think the worst thing about YouTube is, and although I think sponsorships and ads can be problematic, I think the worst thing for people is the YouTube recommendation bar. And I say this because I just watched The Social Dilemma, which is something that I plan to make a whole video about because I'm super interested in the problematics of social media. But with YouTube, the recommendation bar causes people to watch content that they didn't even go onto YouTube to watch. And I mean, it happens to me, it happens to my boyfriend, it happens to everyone. We get sucked down these rabbit holes of YouTube where we're watching videos just because the algorithm is feeding it to us, and the algorithm works way better than a human brain, and so it targets exactly what it knows our weak points are and what it knows we'll want to watch, it knows we'll be interested in it. And it sort of forces us to give YouTube our time. So I think basically YouTube is a great tool, and if it's used for good and it's used intentionally and with purpose and with our consent, then it's great. But when you go on YouTube and you get sucked in and you're sort of wasting your time, I think that's kind of where the line is crossed and where it kind of can become a dangerous thing. So as a new YouTuber, this is a platform that does have some issues, but also can do great things and can be a great part of people's lives. So I'm sort of trying to figure out where I stand as far as that goes. How often will you upload? I plan to upload at least once a week, and then seeing how it goes. I'm hoping to up that to 2 times a week if possible, but right now I am a full-time student. I'm working a part-time job, trying to write a novel, and I'm trying to do this, and I'm auditioning for things. I have a lot on my plate right now, but this is definitely going to be a priority for me, and I've committed myself to doing this regularly. So yeah, if you're interested, please subscribe and stick with me. One last question. Does your family or friend know about your YouTube channel? No. No one knows about it because I'm so weird and I'm so embarrassed and I'm afraid of failure. And it's funny, I literally live with my boyfriend and I haven't told him yet that I started a YouTube channel. We live together in a 600 square foot 1-bedroom apartment, and I literally wait until he leaves to film these videos. So he's gonna find out sooner or later. Garrett, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. So moving on to the part that I am really nervous but also really excited to do is a reading of my short story. A tiny bit of background info. As I mentioned, I've been working on a longer historical fiction piece that's been taking up a lot of my time. but over the summer in my writing group, my teacher actually told us that he's been writing all these flash fiction pieces, which are basically really short stories that are 350 words or less, so about a page or so. And he challenged us all to write our own flash fiction over the week, and then in the next meeting we all shared. And this is what I wrote for that. My first time writing flash fiction, and it's also my first time writing in second person, which I know makes a lot of people cringe, including myself sometimes, because why would the reader want to be implicated in the writing? They don't. But I think it's fun, especially as an exercise, and I thought it would be a nice way to give you guys a little taste of what my writing is like. And I fully know that it's not great, like it's not perfect. This is more of an exercise than a polished story at this point, but I just thought it would be kind of fun. So if you've ever written flash fiction, or if you've read it, and if you like this or you disliked it, please comment, because I'm super interested to hear what other people think. Surprise! I'm in a brand new location and I have a special guest star, Cinnamon, the dog that I'm currently dog sitting. It is a new day. I don't know what happened to my camera, but I'm wearing the same shirt in honor of this video, and I'll start my reading now. You're on the subway. Beyond the window, made blurry by fingerprints and exhales, are tunnel walls covered in graffiti passing by too quickly to read. People are standing close. The honeymooners share secret glances and rueful smiles imbued with too much meaning. The overweight woman in the floral dress's plastic shopping bag keeps bumping into the teenage boy with the sagging blue jeans and the docile eyes. His t-shirt reads "Anarchy," the exclamation point made comical under the scrutiny of the fluorescent lights. There's some unexplained turbulence, a pebble lodged between the rails perhaps, or some faulty electrical wiring, causing the honeymooners to swing apart and the overweight woman and the teenage boy to collide. You're unfazed. You got on earlier and claimed a seat covered in vinyl and chewing gum stains and watched the whole congregation assemble. You close your eyes for a moment and pretend that the humming and the whistling of stagnant air being broken by the velocity of metal is your makeshift lullaby. But now an automated voice announces the next stop, and the train shudders as it slows, inertia playing tricks on the people once more. A red-haired woman gets on. She has a tear in her nylons that runs from her flats to the hem of her skirt. The two of you lock eyes for a fractal second, and instead of the usual ambivalent anonymity, a smile curls her lips. You wonder if she's lacking sleep or if the hollows under her eyes are darkened by smeared mascara. Has she been crying? You watch as she dusts invisible lint off her leg and fiddles with the strap of her handbag. At the next stop, you become aware of an infant sobbing outside your window. It's alone. The woman must be its mother. It doesn't know that she's hurrying, struggling to move beyond the overweight woman and the teenage boy and the giggling honeymooners and you. She brushes up against your shoe because it's hanging out in the aisle. She doesn't notice. You get up impulsively. You think maybe you should follow her, the child's cries penetrating your ears. The woman gets off, and as you attempt to do the same, you watch as she walks past the child over to the escalator. The train doors are closing now. You put your hand on the glass in a futile effort to escape, a cheap exercise in impenetrability. And that was my story. Please comment down below if you got this far in the video. Let me know what you thought of my story, if it sparked any ideas in you. And yeah, if you're new here and you're interested in what I'm going to be doing, then please subscribe.